Welcome to Native Bidaské, Native News Online's weekly spotlight on the people making news and leading change in Indian country.
Welcome to another episode of Native Bidaské. I'm Levi Rickert, your host today. And next Tuesday, November 11th, is Veterans Day. So we have two veterans, Native veterans with us today. And someone who's already been on our show in the past, a friend of mine, is Dean Dauphinais. And we have the chairman of the, let me get this right, Great Crow Creek Sioux Tribe out in South Dakota, and he is the national commander. And Dean is with the organization, the National American Indian Veterans Inc. And Dean, you were recently named executive director. So, like I said, we have two great veterans. Welcome, both of you gentlemen, and thank you for the service. Dean, I'm going to start with you. I tell us about your service. Like, what branch of the military were you in, and what battles or what conflicts did you fight in?
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that up. Veterans Day is on the 11th, but Peter and I are both Marines. So one thing we want to do is give a shout out to all the Marines out there. November 10th will be the Marine Corps birthday, 250th birthday for the United States Marine Corps. So Semper Fi to all those Marines out there. We hope you enjoy responsibly and check in on your buddies, do a buddy check, make sure your buddies are doing okay out there. But I was in the Marine Corps from 1995 to 1999, and I was stationed in Camp Pendleton for the majority of that time. We did deploy once to the Middle East. It was relative peacetime, 1997-98. There was this little blip in history where there was a little bit of peacetime going on. So in the Corps, they call that a float when we go deploy to the Middle East and basically go train for 30 days in Kuwait, relative peace in the world. So they send us back and they replace us with a new battle group. And so no combat for me. I spent a lot of time, doing veterans advocacy since getting out of the Marine Corps, which I take just as seriously as my time serving as an active duty Marine. I take my veterans advocacy just as serious as my duties I ever did in the Marine Corps. So it was a very good experience for me. Young kids, similar story for a lot of people that joined the Marine Corps, where a young man looking for some direction and some guidance, a lot of energy, pretty intelligent, but I needed direction and guidance and discipline. And the Marine Corps really brought that to bear for me. And since I, earned that title of United States Marine, I haven't looked back, and I've been charging forward ever since. And now I take that spirit into what we do here with the veterans advocacy. And I'm really appreciate you bringing us on to talk about National American Indian Veterans. And I'm honored to be working arm in arm here with Chairman Lengkeek here, also a Marine Corps veteran. I got a lot of respect for him and what he's done and what he continues to do. So we're combining forces here and really going to make some headway for our Native veteran advocacy.
And Chairman, if you don't mind, tell us about your military service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Peter Lengkeek. I'm the chairman of the Crow Creek Sioux Tribe, as we're federally recognized. Our traditional name is the Hunkpati Oyateki, which means camps at the tip of the horn. Where we are part of the Ocheti Shakoni out here in the Great Plains. And I'm really honored to be a part of the show today and to share this space with you gentlemen. I really appreciate you bringing us on here to get the word out and kind of spread the bring some light to this issue of veteran suicide that we're dealing with right now. As Dean said, Semper Fidelis to all the Marines out there. I am a Marine and still consider myself a Marine, as Dean does.
Sure.
We all do, and that's just that love of the Corps, that esprit de corps that that you can't shake.
Sure.
But I was in the Marine Corps from the years 91 to 1998. So back in the 1900s, I served. and got deployed to the tail end of Desert Storm there, and got into some action there, but also went other places in the world. I was one of those Marines that volunteered for everything, whether it was a Mu 24, 26 out of the East Coast. Yeah, I was sticking my hand up for everything, and got to see a good part of the world during my 8 years in the Marine Corps there, or 6 years in the Marine Corps there. But wanted to make a career out of it, but had a different calling there at the end, and came back to my reservation. I lost both my parents shortly after I came back. My father is a World War II Navy veteran. I come from a family of veterans. I'm the only Marine in my family, but I have numerous brothers and sisters, aunties, uncles, and grandfathers that fought in every war the United States has ever been in. And so I'm very proud of that heritage, and me and my children and my grandchildren will be carrying that on. So I appreciate you today, and
Well,
always.
it's our pleasure. And I want to point out two things. One, and Dean, you mentioned it, that on the 10th, the Marine Corps will be celebrating its 250th anniversary, which as soon as you said that, now the United States will be celebrating their 250th next July the 4th. So what you're telling us, gentlemen, is the Marines are older than the country. How's that?
That's right.
Yeah.
Facts.
Yeah, fact. And also is a fact that Native Americans, historically, since the Revolutionary War, have fought in every single war at a higher
Yes.
rate, per capita rate, than any other racial ethnic group in the United States. And
Even
Chairman,
before we were American citizens.
Correct. Good point. And Chairman, I'm asked sometimes when I'm out and about and I go to college campuses or wherever, and they'll say to me, with everything that the United States did to Native Americans, why is it there's such a high rate of participation by Native Americans? Can you answer that question?
I think it's that warrior blood. There's still that spirit in us to protect and to provide. That will never go away, and that is deeply ingrained in every one of us as Indigenous people. Take where I'm from, Crow Creek. Many veterans. Probably one of the highest veteran rates per capita of the reservations, and most of them are Marines. A lot of Marines there. It goes all the way back to the end of World War I. The first Indigenous code talker ever was from Crow Creek Sioux tribe, and his name was Sam Kroll. In World War II, we had code talkers. My grandfather, Edmund St. John, served in the Pacific as a Marine Corps code talker.
What's happening with losing the chairman twice like we have, I think, speaks to the crisis that we know exists in Indian country when it comes to broadband. So good
Right.
example. And Dean, I'm so happy you're still with us. We can keep this conversation going.
Yeah.
Now, Dean, knowing what we know about Native Americans fighting at a higher rate, I am asked that question often. How is it that Native Americans are willing to fight, knowing all the bad things that happen to us? They try to commit genocide on us, put our kids in boarding school. But what is the dedication that Native Americans, the motivation to fight in the United States Armed Forces?
Well, I think it's not any one thing necessarily, but I think Chairman Lengkeek was alluding to there, there is that warrior spirit there, right? That's kind of where things, there's the base from which that motivation comes from. But, I thought about this a lot myself. And one of the best ways that it was ever put to me was by one of the Navajo code talkers. He said that regardless of how our lands have been diminished and whatnot, we still will fight and stand up to protect those lands. So it's very, simple. I like that simplified viewpoint of it. And so I kind of adopt that same viewpoint as well. I had so for me, my personal reason for joining was I needed to way off of the reservation. Right. And I think that is the case for a lot of people. I didn't do great in high school as far as a GPA and things like that. I wanted to play college baseball. I was a good baseball player, but I wasn't a good student. So, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to be just stuck in the reservation boundaries. I always felt like there was something more in store for me, and so my way out was to join the Marine Corps. And I always say it's the single best decision I ever made for myself. I was 17 years old at the time I decided to join the Marine Corps. My parents had to, we say, sign our life away. They had to co-sign for me to join the Marine Corps because I wasn't an adult yet. But it's the single best decision I ever made for myself because it gave me a lot of that discipline and direction that I really needed to go along with what I already had inherently in me, which was, motivation to be a high performer, try to go attack the world with some gusto. And so once I became a Marine, that gave me all the confidence in the world, along with some competence. Now I had some competence also to go about what I wanted to do in the world. So, there's a lot of benefits that come from joining the military and becoming a Marine or sailor or airman, whatever the case may be, soldier in the Army.
Hey,
Yeah.
tell us about the National American Indian Services Inc., the group that or Veterans Inc. that you're involved with, and you are the executive director. And I was always impressed with the work that you have done personally. You came to me at a conference one time in Washington D.C. and told me, you said, Levi, we got to talk about the high rates of suicide among Native Americans. And Chairman has already alluded to it, but talk about that. Why are the numbers so devastating?
Okay. Well, first I'll touch on the background on National American Indian Veterans a little bit, and then get into the suicide crisis. We'll call it what it is. We have a crisis going on right now, but National American Indian Veterans is a 501c19 organization that's been in existence really for over 20 years. But only recently in March of 2024, they obtained a federal charter. So what that federal charter really does is puts them on par with like the American Legion, the VFW, and the DAV, where we have that seat at the table now to advocate for our Native veterans to Congress and beyond. So I wasn't really, searching for this role, but I've been involved with NAIV for probably 2 years or so. But I was approached by some veteran elder leaders of NAIV. They just were having little struggles getting this thing jump started. So they asked me to help them out and take on this role, which I've taken on. And I want to say one thing real quick though, Levi. We've had 2 people that have passed this year that I just want to make sure that we honor them and I have the utmost respect for both the individuals. One's name's Don Loudner, and NAIV came about because of Don Loudner. He had many years of federal service and was the catalyst for putting National American Indian veterans down this path to get a congressional charter. I'm really happy for the fact that he was able to live to see that happen. That charter was signed in March of 2024, and he just passed recently. The other one is Robert Dunsmore. It was a big blow when Robert passed because he's one of our, warriors out there that's not afraid to go to Capitol Hill to advocate and really be a strong supporter for us. So we lost 2 of our warriors, that are really catalysts. And so now those of us that are carrying on, on their shoulders, we take this work very seriously, and there's a lot of work to do. That leads me into this, to the suicide prevention talk. But this first, I want to just talk about NAIVs. The purpose of NAIV is to ensure that our Native veterans receive the benefits and the recognition and respect that they've earned through their service time. And what our focus is in right now is just really strengthening our national infrastructure. And we're going to modernize our outreach and amplify our voice in Washington, D.C. So we're in a organizational phase right now where we're reviewing Constitution and bylaws and updating those things. And we are also forming up our regions and our commanders. so that in the coming months and years, we are that formidable organization that Don Loudner and Robert Dunsmore and others always hoped that we would be. So I'll switch gears to that suicide question that you posed, Levi. There is something wrong with that picture. You mentioned it a little earlier about the fact that we serve at the highest rates per capita of any race or ethnicity, yet we have the highest rates of suicide of any race and ethnicity out there. We also have the highest homeless rates. And really, when you look at all the socioeconomic markers, we're at the high end of all the bad socioeconomic markers, like homelessness and suicide and things. But we're at the low end of all the good ones, like college attainment levels, home ownership levels, and things along those lines. So there's something just wrong with that picture, generally speaking. And part of it, I feel like, is due to the fact that we have not had a formidable group like an NAIV to step up and advocate for our issues. One of our main issues right now is suicide. Over the course of the last 4 years now, there's been a 52% increase in Native veteran suicide. And it's pretty, I learned this, and that statistic in itself is a reason why I joined with SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Systems Administration, as well as the VA, in piloting the suicide prevention programs, which there are 3 sites right now being piloted. One's in the Wabanaki tribe in Maine, which I work directly with them in a consultant fashion. One is in the Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians, and then one is in Alaska with the South Central Foundation. So those pilots were really hopeful that we come away with some, a template, so to speak, that we can then spread more widely to other regions of the country and other tribal communities, so that we can start to get that help to our Native veterans and their families before they get to crisis mode, and really interject in there, and also be available to provide services, provide benefits and guidance, which I feel like is part of that hopelessness that happens when somebody commit suicide. It's about hopelessness. And we want to be a group that Native veterans and their families can look to and have some hope that there's somebody out there looking out for them.
Well, Dean, I really commend what you're doing, and it is a subject that, one, people don't always want to talk about, and two, it is a problem that, as you mentioned, is a crisis, so that we do need to talk about it, even though it's something that people don't like to talk about. So I commend the work that you're doing. Dean, the shutdown, the federal government, how bad is that hurting Native American veterans?
Well, it's hard to say right now, really. Getting reports in from various places that obviously there are veterans and families out there on SNAP and things along those lines that are being affected. But even further than that, the regular VA stuff with payments and things along those lines, if they go on too long, there's worries of disability payments being paid out and things along those lines. And we're not there yet, but there's increasing anxiety around those things. So even that, I think, can have a negative effect on our veterans out there, just having to worry about whether they're going to be able to have that, because they count on it to pay rent and to live and sustain on. So it's really hard to quantify that at the moment. But there are reports that veterans are obviously out there, being negatively affected by the shutdown.
Well, and as we look into Veterans Day, and it really is a day that people show the respect for veterans. I think as Americans, we haven't done enough for veterans, and that goes even beyond Native Americans. That's just my observation. And I'm not a veteran, but I have observed in the stories that you hear about, as you already mentioned, homelessness, suicide, and all that. Are tribes doing enough for their veterans? And I know we not asking you to attack any one particular tribe or anything like that. However, in your opinion, could tribal councils step up a little more and say, we really have got to help our veterans?
Yes. So, I think what I've observed over time as an advocate, as a Marine veteran, and uh, we do a great job of supporting our veterans in a ceremonial fashion, right? Honoring at our powwows and these various settings. We do a great job of that, and that's a really great thing that's happening there. Um, Areas where I feel like we could improve are, you know, do doing the due diligence to really check on your veterans to see how they're doing in terms of, mental health issues, housing issues, financial issues, and and making sure to keep them engaged, and building relationships with the Veterans Affairs and non-governmental organizations as well to plug them into these various support systems that are out there. And one thing I found and I'm seeing is that there's a lot of assumptions that happen. Just this is how it is. A lot, the tribal council members, if they're not veterans, a lot of times they kind of assume that, the VA takes care of all the things for veterans, right? And that couldn't be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, if they really looked closer into it, the majority of the Native veterans out there are not even in the VA system. So they can't access benefits without being in the VA system. So we got a little bit of a conundrum there that we've got to solve that. And it's going to take tribal councils. It's going to take tribal veteran service officers, tribal veteran representatives, to really cling on to these issues and champion these issues. And we hope to really lean on tribal leadership for this assistance in a partnership way. I I always appreciate these things like that go on right now with MMIP, right? It's a movement right now, right? Because it's such a crisis.
Mhm.
I'm here to let everybody know who listens to this that we have a crisis with our warriors right now. We have a suicide crisis, we have a homelessness crisis, and so I would love to call to action all of our leaders out there right now and our veterans as well. If you
Mhm.
care about our warriors, it's time to lock arms with us at NAIV, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to try to be that support system, that advocacy group, to be able to make change, positive change, to improve the quality of life for our warriors and their families. Because as you look at it right now, it's a very bleak outlook for that population right now, and there really shouldn't be that way. But that is what it is, and we're going to try to improve that over the course of the next coming months and years.
Yeah, that's a strong voice you have there, Dean. And as you were talking, I thought, boy, it goes way beyond ceremony. Because you're right, we utilize our veterans. Where I am here in Michigan, our veteran group, honored color guards, however you want to say it, they carry in the Eagle staffs, the flags at powwows, and they come to funerals and honor the dead veterans and on and on. But it goes way beyond ceremony. We've got to make sure we're doing the right thing. How can young people, what would your message be to young people who are looking to go to the military, and even how can they show more respect for veterans? And way beyond Veterans Day. I know we're talking about Veterans Day, but this is an ongoing thing.
Yeah. Well, so I want to go back to that issue of the ceremony, because I want to make sure people understand that the ceremonies are critical. They're
Correct.
they're important. They're things that uplift us. When we go there, whether we go in the circle or not, to carry the flags or whatever the case may be, the fact that that they pause and focus on our veterans to honor them and to sing songs and have dances for them and everything, that puts that empowers us. So those are important. So I'm not saying that it's both, right? We need both. We need that, but we also need practical solutions and approaches that where we can get benefits and services to our veterans, and also encourage our warriors to go to the VA to sign up to get eligible for their benefits, because there's some significant benefits out there that can really help a person level up in life. Home ownership is one of the cornerstones of what they would call the American dream, right? Home ownership. Well, the VA has a loan product called the Native American Direct Loan, which is for buying and or refurbishing homes on the reservation land, on trust land, at a 2.5% interest rate right now. Compared to the regular market of, I don't know, 6.5, wherever it's at. I know it's coming down right now, but still it's significantly less. And the issue is not enough veterans know about it to be able to even access it. So it's a two-way street here. The VAs, they're trying to do things like that to encourage our Native veterans to access these things. But at the same time, we have to help our veterans get in the system to be able to get the access. You see what I'm saying? So those are the types of things that I think a group like ours at NAIV, we can really help with bridging that gap that is out there right now, and building the bridges to those between the VA and between Indian country. NAIV can help to be those bridge builders on that. So I just want to make that point on those couple things. But as far as you asked about young people, what can they do to support or to support veteran issues? Mostly it's about being knowledgeable, understanding about history. Chairman Lengkeek was sharing a little earlier about I think it's Woodrow Keeble, Medal of Honor recipient. Learn about your warriors, learn about that history of some of the, significant things that our warriors have contributed to our military and our veteran community. We were at the Battle of Iwo Jima. You see that famous flag raising?
Yes.
Right? Ira Hayes.
Pima,
Marine Corps veteran. He's in there. Billy Mills, right?
Yes.
Look at Mills. Gold medalist, 64.
Yes.
Right? And such a great role model. And there's so many more, there's so many more, but learn that history, because, you don't have to go seek, outside to find out some of that. We have heroes amongst our own people, and a lot of them have a military background. So, I know you see this a lot of Native families and parents are scared to send their kids to military, right? For fear of that they're going to get killed or get hurt or something like that. And, that can happen anytime, to be honest with you, right? You walk out the door, there's danger. Mm-hmm. But I'm hopeful to see more young people take interest, honestly, just because, I know the benefits that it can have in terms of the things of like instilling discipline and giving direction, giving guidance, learning skills, not only just like, a trades and skills and things along those lines, but also learning how to interact with, when you work with high ranking generals, like I did for several years, anybody you interact with after that is it's not intimidating. I've worked with 2 and 3 star generals on a daily basis for a stretch of time there. And you just get to realize, well, they're put their pants on one leg at a time as well. And they're regular people too. So all this buildup I had was for nothing, because they're just very, very normal. And when you get that level of confidence, you can just kind of move, in your life in that way, with that, carrying that confidence, knowing that you're as formidable as anybody can be out there. But so yeah, I think I'm a big person on education as far as those things are concerned with the young people. Learn the history. A couple things that people can know right now. In World War I, we had 12,000 plus Native warriors volunteered to serve in World War I. And the big significance of World War I, we didn't have the right to vote yet until 1924 Indian Citizenship Act, right? So that speaks to our warrior spirit. We couldn't even vote yet we're serving to the tune of tens of thousands in that war. And then in World War II, we served over 44,000. And so we've contributed in every climb and place and in every era of wars and conflicts there have been, and we'll continue to do that as well. But what really needs to happen is there needs to be a spotlight put on our issues right now, like suicide, mental health, home ownership, and these things, to be able to uplift our Native veterans to a place where they can feel empowered, where they can feel heard, and where they can feel like they're a part of our society in a good way, and bring them in that circle, so to speak, so that they can, pursue a life where they're thriving instead of just all the time in survival mode.
We've been talking with Dean Dauphinais from the National American Indian Veterans, Inc. And he has been talking about a very profound subject, the veterans, the Native veterans that we serve in wars at a higher rate per capita than any other racial ethnic group. Thank you very much, Dean. We want to invite you back anytime you want to come back, because I, for one, don't think Americans pay enough homage to our veterans as we should. So anytime you want to come back, any concern, any comments, feel free, give us a call, and we will have you back on Native Bidaské. Chi Miigwech, thank you very much, Dean.
Okay, Levi, thank you.
To our veterans out there, Chi Miigwech, thank you very much for the service you've given to the United States of America. Whether you're a Native veteran or a non-Native veteran, we just want to thank you for the service, and we will show a lot of honor on Veterans Day coming up on November 11th. And to our viewers, Chi Miigwech for tuning in to another episode of Native Bidaské. We'll be back next week with another important subject. And as I'd like to tell you every week, elders, take care of those young ones. Young ones, give those elders hugs. We're all in this together. Chi Miigwech. See you next week.
Thank you for joining us. If you value our warrior journalism for Indian country, please consider supporting our work by scanning the QR code or visiting the link below. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and sign up for our free daily newsletter. Chi Miigwech.